Hey guys, and welcome to a battle featuring the mighty forces of the Empire, led by von Acridus right here. And on the right hand side we have Ronin leading the vile forces of the Greenskins. Should be a pretty fun game all round, so let's hop in here and have a quick look at both the builds. So we have some really interesting tools at the disposal of the Empire here, which should make it a very interesting game. In the front line he has cheap and cheerful spearmen. In the centre pockets they have shields. Looks like on the flank he's gone a little bit cheaper, but has chevron to these guys up. Now spearmen aren't going to win pretty much any frontline engagement, but they will hold for a decent amount of time. They have charge defense against large foes, they're anti-large, shielded, all that good cheerful stuff to protect the back line and kind of the hard-hitting elements of this Empire build. Pushing forward up into the lead actually here, we have triple war wagons, the basic variety as well. Most consider them not to have enough ammo or damage output to make them really viable, so we have to see how they do perform today. Looks like they're going to be darting ahead of the force, doing some nice early skirmish power. In a secondary line, we do have 3 company militia, a close quarters infantry crew, who do rock pistols as well as swords, so they're a bit of a multi-purpose unit. And we have 4 of those dotted through the middle, which I quite like. They should be able to deal with enemy skirmishers that flank through and break through the front lines, plug those gaps, all the while doing some decent long-range firepower. Now in deep reserve here we do have double Empire Knights, fantastic up against Greenskins. You don't really have to go too heavy with the cav. These guys can just roll in there, do some nice shock damage and protect the back line. And he also has double Outriders with grenade launchers. Now these guys are probably, I've said this 1 or 2 times before in previous videos, one of those underused Empire units. A lot of people prefer Pistoliers, who are a little bit easier to use. They have that 360 arc of fire, and you have to worry about them too much, whereas Outriders can only fire forward. However, they do disgusting damage up against infantry, and even single entities, they can do good work with kind of consistent focus fire. So I'm very interested to see how they perform today. We have a light wizard as well, come with net as well as far as protection, and a power stone, and of course we have Volkmar the Grim, the most glorious warrior of all of Sigmar. Just the moustache every single time gets me, it's just so goddamn glorious. His fire hammer as well, on top of his magical chariot here, should do some decent work. Probably the best pick up against Greenskins. He doesn't have the sniping potential of someone like Karl Franz, but he just rolls through the enemy lines, he causes terror, he's so hard for them to pin down and clears through chaff very quickly. Now for the forces of Ronin here and his greenskin hordes, in the front line we do have Savage Orcs dotted along with some goblins as well as the Regiment Renowned ones here as well, the 8 Peak Loonies with their Fanatic spell. So yeah, Goblins and Savage Orcs dotted all the way along. Goblins just to make the line a little bit wider, and Savage Orcs will tear through State Troops and Spearmen with deadly efficiency indeed. Looks like he does have a nice skirmish core here as well of Goblin Wolf Riders. Triple of those guys. They can do some pretty decent work overall and do some lovely counter skirmish against those grenade launchers as well, some decent hit and run efforts. He has double Black Orcs as well to add a bit more punch and meat to this build, and double Orc Araboids as well in the back line. For a hero core, we do have an Orc Shaman coming in with Here We Go and Brainbuster, as well as a Scroll of Shielding. And for his Lord, he has gone for Snarsnick, who is a really solid pick all round. Has that beautiful anti-large and some great map control abilities now in the form of the Fermented Fungi, as well as Spite of the Bad Moon, giving that bonus versus large to kind of an air effect. It's so goddamn powerful. Looks like we have a couple of skirmish Forest Goblin Spider Riders as well, and the Hammer of Gork, which is a pretty cool ability. I actually did a replay the other day where this bad boy did some really good work, so interesting to see how it does pay out here. And going with just the 1 artillery piece is a pretty safe pick overall. A lovely early Brainbuster does go off to kind of start the initial battle here, doing some pretty decent damage to that 3 company militia, although they do keep most of their models. And the front line is going to get engaged incredibly early on. It looks like the war wagons are actually being used in the front line here, just to kind of block in and defend the 3 company militia, which is an interesting way of using them, kind of using them as a roadblock here. And yeah, they're darting into the front line to try and hold back and slow down the Greenskin advance, which I haven't seen them use like this, so it's pretty interesting stuff. Not sure how cost effective it's going to be, but we will see. The first net does come down as well on top of these Night Goblins, allowing the 3 company militia to fire a little bit longer. A lovely banishment does go down on those Goblin Wolf Rider archers, tearing them apart as Volkmar just happily trots into the back line. Now, he doesn't want to stick in combat with Snarsnick, and he certainly has the mass to pull himself through, and he is decimating Savage Orcs up to 88 kills already. This is crazy. Fermented Fungi has been popped to him, but it won't make him rampage as he has too much health at the moment. Grenade launchers are now launching into the front lines, doing devastating damage on those goblins and Forest Goblin Spider Riders, up to 56 kills out of the gate. These guys are doing crazy work and now focus down the Black orcs as well. They can do some decent work there. Now, the front line of the Empire forces is pretty tattered as expected. You can see a lot of the Free Company militia are starting to fall back, as well as some of the war wagons who were sacrificed. But glorious play. Empire Knights are all kind of bunched up here, riding through the Night Goblins, but the war is active, which is going to allow these guys to do a decent amount of damage. Now, this is a very fast and furious battle, a ton of stuff going on all at once, so well played to both players so far of their micro. In the distance, the Hammer of Gork up to 55 kills, doing pretty decent. So it looks like both Outriders have managed to secure themselves now. A lovely brainbuster going down again on the Free Company militia. And now that they have secured themselves, they're once again going to be firing into these Black Orcs, allowing Spearmen to punch massively above their P grade and drag these guys down. They are wavering, and it looks like they are just about to break here as well. So really lovely Outrider play so far, protecting this centre pocket, keeping them nice and active. On the right-hand flank, however, it's going a bit better for the Greenskins, who have managed to chase down some war wagons, pull some of these contraptions into the dirt, break Spearmen off, and kind of surround pockets of enemies with the help of this Orc Shaman, with Here We Go popped as well on these Black Orcs. Now, as expected, the Volkmar the Grim, doing 94 kills so far, is rolling through this gun line now of Orc Dakka boys. And doing a pretty decent job overall. He's just perfect up against Greenskins. And the Empire Knights are now reaving into the back line, shutting down the Orc Arrow boys, and they'll easily be able to pull down Goblins and the like. So things are looking pretty decent for the Empire for the most part. Part of this kind of big overload on this flank by the Greenskins, who managed to kind of punch through very quickly. The poor Night Goblins are now being focused down by the Outriders, who are going to have to turn their engagements here to the Savage Orcs, who are pushing through the Free Company militia. It's just an absolute gun line there, destroying the Savage Orcs on the approach. The Free Company militia are going to fall back here. They should probably stand and fight this. The Savage Orcs are incredibly beat up and will kind of be pushed over by like a light wind at this point, so they need to turn and engage. It looks like they are trying to fall back and allow the Outriders perhaps to finish the deed. Although it looks like they are now starting to fire into the Black Orcs, getting some pretty decent damage. Volkmar is incredibly healthy, which is a big problem for the Greenskins, so they're trying to consolidate their forces into a centre pocket of power. Another banishment going down, and it's just tearing apart these Black Orcs. A lovely net as well, so they can no longer escape. And the Outriders are here as well, just to launch shot after shot into these Greenskin forces. The Black Orcs' HP is just dropping very, very quickly here. So nice so far map kind of control coming in by the Empire, as Volkmar is just going to be rolling through the Greenskins at this point. Looks like he's going after the Orc Shaman at this point. Spider the Bad Moon has been popped, as well as Here We Go, making these guys absolute wrecking balls. So Volkmar probably doesn't want to stick around too much, but he does manage to drop the Grand Shield of Faith, giving him that 22% damage resistance. So it is forcing all the Greenskins to bunch up, I suppose, for the most part, which is allowing these Outriders to do huge damage all round. Looks like Savage Orcs are starting to run from the field. Snarsnake is very healthy, and there is still some decent pockets of Black Orcs. We're going to be getting in here and chopping up the Free Company militia if they can catch them. Looks like they are very wisely going to flee into the distance there, as more and more grenades just pour into their centre pocket. Look at all the troops that are routing despite the buffs, and Volkmar simply trots away nice and healthy. Forest Goblin Spider Eyes are going to get a nice rear charge and counter charge, in fact, onto the Empire Knights, who did get an initial lovely charge in the front lines. And the Goblin Wolf Rider Archers are picking off tattered troops of Imperial forces, but these guys needed to be focusing down those Outriders much quicker, force them away, force them to waste that ammunition, kind of not on the infantry, I suppose. Empire Knights are just loving this at the moment, just riding headlong through Greenskin forces, dragging down all these routing troops. With Volkmar so healthy, I think it's only a matter of time before the Empire do seize victory here. Outriders up to 158 kills and 117 respectively. That is some ridiculous value. They're going to tear apart these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers very comfortably, and I think that is going to be it. There's no real hope left. Snarsnik is going to cackle and scheme. Scar of Children has been popped on him, and he's going to be desperately charging forward to try and catch some of these Empire Knights. Hits them with a nice Thermite Fungi, which is going to make these bad boys rampage, lower their melee defense as well. So these guys are going to get pulled apart very effectively here by Snarsnik. And there's a kind of nice continued fight. The Goblin Wolf Rider Archers also peppering, doing some decent damage, and at least trying to go out with a bit of a last war there. But unfortunately, it looks like there's only Orc Arrow Boys and kind of a few little tattered Greenskin forces left fighting. Balance power only hasn't probably broken yet because of the health of Snarsnake here. But the Orc Shaman has been completely surrounded and just getting absolutely obliterated as well by the Free Company militia, who were an interesting pick and certainly did some decent work all round. And we now have a lovely gun line in this back pocket. And poor Sonostic is going to get net off Anatox as well. Now, Scottish Shield lasts a ridiculously long time, but even with that, he is just going to be getting obliterated from all angles, the poor little goblin. And he's just going to have to stand there and take it, unfortunately. He is getting staggered all over the place, and it looks like the Greenskins are going to call it there. So I think that's the right option at that point. There was no real way back into the game. The kind of battle had taken its course. So well played to both of these guys, and a massive shout out to Von as well for sending this one in. I believe he does indeed have a YouTube channel as well, so certainly go check out his stuff if you enjoyed his Empire build. I, for one, really enjoyed it, and it was very interesting seeing the war wagons kind of used as this blockade in the front line. I mean, they have decent mass all round, and I suppose they take up a lot of space, so it kind of worked. It kind of slowed down the Greenskins, and they were sacrificed. I think it might have been a bit better just going, a couple more units of spearmen or swordsmen or something, who can at least do a little bit of damage back. As you can see, these guys didn't get too many kills, but I suppose they had a decent kind of map presence in the late game as well. But the real MVPs, without a shadow of a doubt, these Outriders, 137 and 171 kills. The majority of which were aimed at Savage Orcs and Black Orcs, which is ridiculously good value, and they certainly did the forces of the Empire proud. As for Ronan, it's a really fun kind of rock and roll build, coming in with the Savage Orc, Black Orc rush, and the thing I enjoyed most about his build actually was the Hammer of Gork being brought, just in case the Empire don't bring kind of artillery and so forth, which often they don't against Greenskins, and if they do, bring loads of cannons and so forth, you're only losing one artillery piece, so not kind of going all out with the Hammer of Gork there. So really nice play overall. I think he just needed to get the Goblin Wolf Riders and the Forest Goblin Spider Riders to shut down those Outriders and get into the back line on top of the Free Company Militia, and he would have been in a much better place. Anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. If you did, feel free to subscribe and like the video, comment and all that good stuff. If you want to get your replays up on the channel, feel free to contact me on Discord, or just hop into my Discord. There's a channel on there called like Replays for Casting, and simply drop your replays into there. Alright guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.